Welcome to the Daily Journal of Commerce Building Diversity Awards. And now, please welcome your host, Nick Bjork.
Hello, I'd like to welcome you to the 4th Annual Daily Journal of Commerce Building Diversity Awards and Educational Program. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Nick Bjork, and I'm the publisher of the Daily Journal of Commerce. Before we get to today's event, I want to take a moment and thank all of you for your tireless work during this truly momentous time. So many of you have risked your own health and safety to make sure we have the vital infrastructure and buildings we need to operate effectively as a society. I hope you, your teams, and your families are finding time to prioritize all of the important things that matter in life. We actually weren't going to host this event this year. Amidst the pandemic and the uprising of people calling for an end of systematic racism in the country, we didn't want our voice to get in the way or overshadow more important voices and movements. Then last month, we ran a story in our newspaper calling out the silence for the local construction industry in response to the police violence that has killed so many Black people in our country. As industry leaders grappled with the story and how to show their support in a meaningful way, the ideas of listening sessions amongst industry leaders was proposed and eventually carried out. As we listened in, one of the major themes that came out of it was just how important the construction industry is to some of our most systemic problems. One of the few things that can solve inequity is real opportunity and prosperity. And the construction industry not only offers that to people, but offers it to people who weren't given a fair shake with our educational system or legal system, or provided the same level of generational support that others might have. This is why the construction industry has always been at the forefront of labor negotiations and minority participation goals and aspirations. Listening in on that session reminded me of exactly what the sentiment of building diversity has always been: to tell the powerful stories of the firms and organizations that are creating opportunities for the part of our population that the system has worked against for so long. So while myself and the DJC do not claim to have any of the answers, we felt that hosting a free virtual building diversity event would allow us to promote the voices of people of color and women in the industries and share with you some of the ideas of ways you can get involved and become a better ally. Now, with that said, I want to thank you for attending this event today, and I want to give a sincere congratulations to all of our honorees you're about to hear about and from, as well as all of our previous and future honorees. It is my honor to introduce Jennifer Henderson. Jennifer Henderson is the CEO of Strategic Decisions, a firm dedicated to advancing progressive and social change by expanding the skills and acumen of leaders around the world. She has been a strategic advocate and advisor to the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, the Annie Casey Foundation, the Kellogg Foundation, the NAACP, and is currently on the board of the Stan Lee Foundation. She also serves on the board of one of America's great progressive companies, Ben & Jerry's. Please help me to welcome Jennifer Henderson. I first started by asking Jennifer, why do you see business as a vehicle for social change?
I really love the question around why business? Why business is a vehicle for social change? And in fact, I had that same question the first evening I spent with Ben & Jerry.
Oh, really?
When I was told that I should go to a meeting with these two New Yorkers who thought they could change the world through ice cream. I thought I could blow a Friday evening, or maybe I could actually learn something. And so I went to the meeting, and I was shocked that they really were two New Yorkers who had grown up as friends in junior high school, who weren't particularly good at romance or relationships, weren't particularly good at academics, loved to eat, and loved each other. And that they thought that they might be able to find a career that could connect those things. And they also wanted to make the world better. That was the kind of overarching thing. They started with the idea of pizza, and then they realized that the place that they were thinking about moving, because they were living in upstate New York at the time, working at a camp for dysfunctional kids. And in fact, was so successful, all the adults and kids were, that all the kids mainstreamed into regular schools, but they left all these adults who were trying to figure out what to do with their lives. So the concept was, if we couldn't do pizza in a place called Burlington, Vermont, then maybe we could do something else. And what they found was that there was no ice cream joint. So that's how ice cream won over pizza. And that's why they decided to change the world through ice cream. And their concept was this: if, in fact, anything that humans do together for the right reasons can make the world better, then why can't business make the world better? Why can't business make the world better? And the initial reaction for the business world was, you're nuts. And then you're dangerous, you know? But in the nuts part, it was, why would you think that you could actually turn business into some kind of social justice vehicle? And their concept was that if you think about all the different places that business touches, it touches a lot of society. So if in fact it's using a set of values that are progressive, then it is actually sharing those progressive values as a part of doing business. So their idea was not to have their business give away a lot of money. It wasn't about philanthropy or charity. It was about making sure that equity happened, so that when Ben and Jerry's made money, everyone up and down the supply chain made money. And when Ben and Jerry's moved into a community, that it would do what they called equitable sourcing, which means that if they were using trucks to harvest cocoa beans in Ghana, then and the people that were mostly harvesting them were women who had children. Rather than the children being in the fields, they would help to build a school where the kids would go during the workday hours, and they would be educated, and they would help build the school and build the road to harvest the crop. And that was called equitable sourcing. So for them, they became really good at thinking about creative ways of moving a social justice agenda through a business frame. And what they discovered was that doing good made them do well. That when customers had a choice between, say, Haagen-Dazs, I'm not supposed to even say that name, as the other super premium, and Ben and Jerry's, when they looked on our pint and saw stories about those very women in Ghana harvesting the cocoa and having their kids in school and that instead of in the fields, that they would choose the product Ben and Jerry's over Haagen-Dazs. So there was a way to actually do good and do well. We understood early on, Ben and Jerry's, as most businesses, that if you don't have bottom lines, then you don't reach them. But we thought that maybe if we had a triple bottom line, not just return on financial investment, but excellent product and social justice, that those three things could coexist. So the concept that I think we've been trying to push as a company, I've been with the company for nearly 35, 40 years, that the concept that the company's been trying to push over that period, which now has been pretty widely accepted, is that it is possible to make more than a decent profit by not rape, maiming, and pillaging. Not raping and maiming the environment or the people that are part of it. And so there are opportunities for every business to have a triple bottom line. Excellent product, return on investment, and doing good and doing well at the same time. So we've come to really believe that. And in fact, since those decades have gone by, IRS now believes it, and it's created something that's an official designation. So you heard of the S company and the LLCs. You can become a benefits corporation and actually get credit for the goodwill that your organization does, your business does in the community with that triple bottom line. There's an actual designation for it now.
Yeah. So, and I know in Portland, we do have a thriving B Corp community, which has been really cool to learn about. But, I think that there are some businesses, that, have been going on for quite some time. And I think, while maybe their heart's been in the right place throughout it, that it hasn't been as much of a since the inception about thinking about the triple bottom line. So how would you recommend, as someone who's worked with lots of leaders and organizations, with a company sort of, while they're on the fly, while they're already going, identifying what those sorts of causes that they're fighting for are, and sort of what they could, I guess how they could then infuse that into the work that they're already doing?
Well, I say the first is to, rather than ascribe blame or feel indicted because your company has not taken on a social justice issue or social change, don't feel bad at all about not having done that up to this point. But think about yourself as like an environmentalist on the beach. You're walking along the beach and you see a plastic bottle. You don't check to see if your fingerprints are on it. You pick up the bottle and you dispose of it because you want to be part of the solution, not the problem. You don't kick the bottle back into the ocean. You don't ignore it and pretend you didn't see it. You pick it up. So the first step of becoming a social justice or a triple line business is to accept responsibility going forward. Respect the idea of transformative business, the business that can make a difference, and then look for opportunities to be able to do that. So there are three areas where generally almost any business can make a difference. One is to look at all of your metrics. Look at every single number that matters to you. And the question is that a number that measures up in terms of a social metric? So if you have a certain number of people employed, how many of them are women? How many of them are marginally low income or low income, working class? How many of them are people of color? How many of them are people that may be people that have now paid their dues to the criminal justice system and are coming in now to the workforce for the first time in many years or for the first time period? How many of those are people that have been marginalized because they're new immigrants? But figuring out that number. So metrics is one thing that's important. We value what we measure and we measure what we value. So that's one. The second is supply chain. Up and down the supply chain, I don't know of a company, including Ben & Jerry's, that can do ice cream or any other product without having partners in that supply chain. So maybe your company's too small to have a lot of diversity, but you do business with a lot of different folks. And the question is there an opportunity there? And I'll give you one example. When I was first starting out as an organizer, I really wanted to have an accountant that understood nonprofit accounting. But our town was so small that there was the accounting firm that actually worked for our congressman said there's not enough business to drum up. So 15 or 20 of us got together and said, we'll all do business with you if you hire a person that understands nonprofit accounting. What would happen if some of the small businesses decided to unite, and maybe they're already united through an association, that they would go to a particular supplier and say, we'd love to see you do business, and your supply chain, to actually take on more people of color, women, and other small suppliers, because that would be important to us. It's important to us that we're part of a larger ecosystem that is transforming. So sometimes it's advocacy. They say that the change comes from three different ways. What you drive. So what you drive is picking up that piece of plastic on the beach. What you partner, the idea of looking for other small businesses that can come together around an issue that you care about. And then what you leverage, the idea of being able to go to the city council or to the county government and ask for more kind of points for having people of color, having women, doing things that are socially responsible in the community, even for contracts. Because what we discover is that often a small business will go directly to the specs in the contract, but the contract isn't very inclusive or diverse or focused on diversity or focused on any kind of equity. So lobbying for that, particularly for companies that have made a commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, means not only do you do it well and you're doing transformative work as a business, but you get points within the larger construction or whatever trade it is for doing that work.
I really appreciate that you brought up the idea of partnerships, especially in the supply chain. I think one of the things we hear from a lot of good intentioned businesses, especially in a city like Portland, which often gets labeled the whitest city in America, is that people, because we see a lot of things around participation goals in parts of contracts, but now we're at the point where we also want to focus on making sure that our workforces are representative of the communities that we serve. Do you have any sort of tips or tricks or ideas that people who are looking to increase diversity within their ranks, anything that they can do to kind of start that process, especially ones that may feel like the community sometimes isn't what they need? Because I think they say the work isn't easy, right? And
right.
No one's saying the work is easy, but I guess where did those people start?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. I think about the experience that we had years ago with the body shop. The body shop was trying to figure out how to, in fact, really diversify and bring more equity to their supply chain. And so you know what they did, a very interesting thing, and we're doing it now at Ben & Jerry's too. Rather than coming up with a recipe and then hoping that you could find people of color low-income people and others to fill those specs. They started out with the idea of, let's see what those folks can do, and then build a business case around that. So, for example, I've seen it happen here in Henderson in Las Vegas, where I live, and that's that a number of the developers in this development called Seven Hills decided that they wanted to make sure that there were a number of people of color, particularly Latinx people, involved in the construction. And they discovered that there were both people that had gardener trades, which was important because landscaping is everything in a place where you can't use but so much water. So that was one. And the other was tile, because the Tuscany kind of view, that particular style was so big. And tile is big in that. And a lot of Latinx contractors, very tiny ones, were involved in artistic tile, fabulous tile. But they were so tiny that, again, like the experience that we had with getting the accountant together, there'd be no way that they would ever get to the radar screen of big developers. And so some of the developers actually helped to bind those together into small co-ops. So the idea of helping to create your own supply chain and then building a business case off that supply chain, rather than just building out what you plan to do and then hoping that the market will provide you with that supply chain. So we started with the supply chain and then moved to the product.
Absolutely. No,
and what was really cool about it, tell you this, is that the stories behind it sell to consumers and others, and they also differentiate. In business, strategic differentiation is everything. What makes you different or better than the other person that's doing the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Those stories are so powerful. And I know in the building industry, a lot of times with our emphasis on sustainability, oftentimes it's like, how do we export the Pacific Northwest? And what a great way to start, by going in and taking an inventory of those sorts of important cultural sort of skills and crafts that we have, and then working that direction. So
exactly.
I love that. Yeah. So here, let me, so I think and I know we got to keep this kind of tight. And so I really appreciate the time, but there's a kind of, I want to look externally too, because I think one of the things right now, it seems like businesses are really grappling with how to appropriately address the sort of reckoning we're having with systemic racism in this country. And I think there's people that are fearful of, oh, maybe this is if I say something, it's going to make me lose business. Or if I say something, it may just be taken as a hollow statement because I'm not sure what to do as well. So I guess, how can a business appropriately go about addressing this sort of important cultural conversation that we're currently having? And so it's not just about words, but it can also be about action.
Right. I think that one of the things that a business might be able to do is, within your larger business universe, the question is, who are your trusted allies? Anytime you're venturing into an area that you're not familiar with, you need an envoy, an ambassador, someone an ombudsman who can help interpret how something might land, because you want it to land appropriately. You don't want to be disrespectful. And that's different from saying, don't take a chance. Don't take a risk, because you are taking a risk moving into areas that you don't know. But the first thing I would do was to figure out who my trusted allies are and talk with them about what your plans are. Get them to have a conversation similar to the conversation we're having around what the possibilities are. And the second is, stay in your lane. Stay in a lane that you're familiar with. Don't go outside of that. Ben & Jerry's stayed directly in the food lane. We looked at milk, and we looked at migrants that work on those farms. We looked at opportunities to be able to work with women who are harvesting various things. That's what we looked at, but it was always connected back to the business. So three suggestions around that, staying in your lane. I don't know businesses that don't need accountants, lawyers, marketeers, all those folks. They could be people of color. They could be women. When was the last time you changed your auditing firm? You're supposed to change them every 3 to 5 years. Maybe it's time for a change. Maybe this time, looking for someone that maybe isn't white and male would be another opportunity. So timing is important. So first, get a trusted ally to give you some feedback on what your thinking is, what your ideas are. The second is, stay in your lane. Think about places within your business right now that you can make some changes. And then the third thing that I would really raise is that there are opportunities that you may never have thought of, which is if your business is in a position where it could actually extend patient capital. And this is an interesting thing. We have seen Netflix, for example, put $100 million into Black banks. They just moved the money. They moved the money. They weren't giving the money away. They simply moved it. And you know the banks get interest off of that. So if, in fact, there are opportunities to do business with Black banks, just moving your money could make all the difference in the world. And again, the partnership model of being able to move that money with other businesses that are doing the same thing. And I've shared this idea with a couple of folks, and that's around bonding as well. One of the things that's really hard for people in construction is to be able to afford the bonding. So where it's possible to be able to provide some umbrella bonding for smaller businesses, think about all of the obstacles. And maybe it would be time to bring together some of the folks that you'd like to partner with who represent constituencies that don't come up as much within your business right now. Women, people of color, and other marginalized people within the trades. Get them together and ask what it is, an obstacle that they would like to see moved or changed. It may be that you can drive it, and maybe that partnering with them you can move it, and it may mean a change in regulation or law that's needed. But those are the suggestions I'd make.
Yeah. Hey, so that actually brings up a kind of interesting question I have. Is there any other, like you, the example you provided with Facebook, are there any sort of other cutting edge sort of, and that's not even that cutting edge, I guess, but are there some other unique ways that people are sort of addressing this sort of inequality within their business? I know you have your hand in so many different organizations. So is there anything else that, maybe could get people to kind of start thinking about that or dreaming?
Well, people are thinking about all kinds of things, including the talent pipeline. And they're very concerned that the current education system doesn't provide much of a talent pipeline, depending on what your particular business is. For restaurants, they're looking at culinary schools, and they're looking also at putting a culinary project into public schools. And so having their chefs and others spend time in the schools, working with folks, understanding that if you cook, you're doing math. If you cook, you're doing science, that there are all these kind of collaborative pieces. And in some communities, people are actually seeing the trades come back into public schools and helping with things like shop, reinstituting shop in those schools, and then trailing those relationships with those young people all the way through from middle school through high school and onto the trades, hopefully. So they're doing that. They're going into the education systems. And the other is that they're looking at places where they can partner, whether it's with places that are working with people that are marginalized right now and not in the economy, but have skills. And they're looking at artists and others. There are a lot of artists that could really connect with the trades because there's a big deal around doing public art and making public art part of buildings. In fact, there's a building in Los Angeles that my husband and I were part of building and developing the financing for. It now carries a 4-story mural, which put about 30 people to work, and it's called We the People. And it's a beautiful depiction. And there are cities that now are famous for their murals. Portland is now one of them, is what I hear.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's kind of going back to your other answer about like taking stock with the sort of cultural sort of histories we have with some of our minority and women community. It does seem like there's a really natural, you're starting to see it in really cutting edge projects. And it's also the projects that get like the most news and are the most talked about. And so it's like, again, when you go back to the triple bottom line thing, what's good for this effort can also be good for business. And I think you're starting to see that when people are thinking more about stories and art within the things that they're constructing.
I think that's true. And in fact, if it's possible, in that dissection of your business, looking for every single, breaking your business down to pieces, including this place where we are right now with the pandemic, there's lunch hours that you have if you're in the building trades. Who's now providing those lunches? Why not connect with businesses that are in the community that you're working in, who may not ever have a chance to provide lunches to that many people. And to be able to do that, you may be saving businesses right along the way. Getting into a contract with those folks could be really, really meaningful. And again, for the dollars that you put in, there's a multiplier effect in those communities. When one person or two people are in a household and they're working, the benefits to their children and to all the extended family is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess I got one thing we'll sort of end it on is that I think that one of the things that we've talked about a lot over sort of this conversation is how if you make a business successful, exactly what you're saying, not only can they reinvest in the community, but then they can take that money and they can they not only invest it with their kids, but invest it in the community as well. So are there any sorts of organizations that you're looking at that are good places for people that may be wanting to go in and think about that community investment even more? Is there some places that people should be looking for ones where that impact will really be felt?
Well, that's a good question. I think that if in fact they have a particular related interest, that's always helpful. So a lot of the building trades are interested in homelessness. It is right, again, staying in their lane. It's an area that they know, and it's an area of need. So the question is, what's the sweet spot between what your business does and what your community needs? So figure out what that sweet spot is. If you're a restaurateur, the sweet spot is that we still have too many hungry Americans. Look at the number of people lining up for hours to get help with food. If you're someone that does other kinds of work, whether it's making the environment better, whatever it is, there's a need that the community really wants and is looking for support around. That's the sweet spot. And then finding out who the people are that are already in that space, because they're looking for allies. They call them co-conspirators now, because allies may be coming and going, but co-conspirators are willing to ride and die with you. So they're looking for folks that will do that. So number one, stay in your lane. Number two, dissect your business. What are the things that you're really good at? And what are the things the community needs? And then finding the people that will join you in that sweet spot.
Absolutely. Great. I love that, co-conspirators. I'm going to start using that now. I do think I've heard that actually. Awesome. Well, hey, Jennifer, I know we only have a couple of minutes for this, but I just want to A, say thank you for joining us. And B, could you just tell us a little bit about if this sort of gets people really interested, tell us a little bit about how people could get a hold of you, what you do, that sort of thing. Plug.
Sure. Well, I think of myself as someone that helps people not to be divided from their values and to be able to live an undivided life, a life that's enriched by the consistency of the values being in action all the time. And so I do executive coaching. I do work with corporations, businesses, and with nonprofits, a lot with foundations who are looking again to increase impact and to expand sustainability of the work that they're doing. My email address is jenniferhendersonstrategy@gmail.com. And you can reach me there at any time. And I just like to say this last plug, and that's that there are amazing organizations that are really fulfilling that goal of helping all of us become the best that we can be. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Ben & Jerry's as one of them. But the other organization I want to lift up, the other two organizations I'd like to lift up are the Stanley Foundation, which is involved in several different projects and lifting up the idea that all of us can be superheroes. And that the way that you become a superhero is to face down your fear. Whatever scares you the most is where the secret magic potion is that will unlock all of your magic and the things that make you so special and unique. And the other is the NAACP, which is working to make sure that everyone has an equitable and prosperous life. So I'll leave it at that.
Well, I appreciate your time today, and I do know I have some Ben & Jerry's fish food down in my freezer. So maybe
one of my favorite flavors.
I can go get some right now.
Terrific.
Yeah, awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much, Jennifer. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Now let's get to the presentation of today's awards. We have a mix of individuals, COBID certified firms, design professionals, general contractors, industry groups, and community organizations. What we've learned over the years is it truly takes everyone in the building process to create change, and we believe these honorees represent that. Without further ado, our first honoree this afternoon is the design firm Works Progress Architecture. A 100% women-owned firm, Works Progress Architecture has established itself as one of the premier design voices across the Pacific Northwest in a predominantly white, male-dominated industry of private development. The firm has also maintained a makeup of 50% women and minority staff since its inception in 2005. The firm is dedicated to implementing inclusive processes like its annual summer internship for young female architect who regularly becomes a full-time staff after graduation. In addition to its work advocating for minorities and women, Work Progress Architecture has also had significant critical success, winning over 50 design and practice awards since it was founded. Congratulations, Works Progress Architecture.
Thank you so much for everyone at the DJC for honoring us with this diversity award. We spend a lot of time here at Works Progress Architecture focusing on supporting diversity and community. Really owe everything to our development partners and our client partners for having belief and faith in us as a business. So from everyone here at Works Progress Architecture, thank you very much.
Our next honoree is Gail Schmidt, owner of A2 Fabrication Inc. When Gail was first starting out in the trades, she was oftentimes ignored at the hardware store because she was a woman. The pain that she felt and the obstacles she had to overcome became the driving force behind her business and her mission to obliterate that type of prejudice. Gail believes that communication is key to overcoming the racism and sexism that exists in our society, and oftentimes tries to bring the privileged and underprivileged together in team meetings. Within her business, Gail is focused on providing those with a checkered past with opportunities to get a fresh start. Outside of her business, she's been a driving force behind the creation of the PBDG industry group. Colleagues of Gail point to her hands-on approach where she leads by example as an important ingredient to her success. Congratulations, Gail.
I'm very happy to receive this award from DJC. One of my core values is to make sure that employees and people that we deal with are all included, that we have equal employment opportunities, equal advancement opportunities. I think it's important to raise awareness that others may have obstacles that we don't, and it's important to raise people up. So this award is really means a lot to me that we have succeeded. Thank you, DJC. Thank you very much.
Our next honoree is the general contractor Skanska USA Building. Skanska is one of 2 general contractors being honored for their commitment to helping provide opportunities and grow COBID firms. For the past 10 years, Skanska has been hosting an extensive educational program for COBID firms. Over that time, they've helped over 181 firms through the program, many of which still work with Skanska to this day. The program extends well beyond just learning about how to work with Skanska on their projects. As an example, one COBID firm working on a Skanska project recently ran into a cash flow issue. Instead of distancing itself from the firm, Skanska sent a team over and helped the firm completely overhaul its cash flow model, setting them up for success well into the future. Congratulations, Skanska.
I want to thank the DJC for recognizing Skanska as a leader in diversity and awarding us the 2020 Building Diversity Award. Skanska has a key value of being better together, which is focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion across our projects and with the subcontracting community. This award recognizes that we are committed, both nationally and locally, to ensure the highest level of integrity on our projects. We have a 6-step approach to successfully engage diverse vendors. We conduct consistent outreach and engagement. We have craft project-specific inclusive procurement strategies. We market the projects. We provide technical assistance and support. We capture spends and performance compliance, as well as reviewing best practices and lessons learned. Skanska leads and coordinates unique collaborative outreach events, such as Meet the Primes and Boost, which was recently renamed Construction Management Building Blocks. In addition to gaining critical industry knowledge, participants have the opportunity to network with industry experts and our local executives. 21% of the graduates from 2018 to present received direct contracts with Skanska. 2 classes each year are taught by Skanska subject matter experts, and we even held our first virtual class for Skanska USA here in Portland. Again, I want to thank the DJC for recognizing Skanska and our diversity efforts. Thanks, DJC.
Our next honoree is the National Association of Minority Contractors, Oregon chapter. NAMAC Oregon has always been a leading voice for the minority contractor community, but the organization kicked it into overdrive this year. In addition to advocating for new groundbreaking labor language with several large public agencies, NAMAC Oregon took it upon themselves to speak up when they witnessed the local construction industry remaining silent after the continued killing of Black Americans by the police across the country. Leaders of the organization became a guiding voice in op-eds and articles across the entire local business community, reiterating the importance of economic prosperity and resolving our history of racism. The effort continued with a large listening session with nearly every major construction executive in the region. Now the organization is working to draft action plans that the local business community can use to help provide opportunities and eliminate barriers for minority business owners in the region. Congratulations, NAMAC Oregon.
Thank you, DJC, for honoring NAMAC Oregon, the National Association of Minority Contractors Oregon chapter. And on behalf of the organization as the executive director, we are honored to be this year's Building Diversity recipient, among others. And we're also honored to represent 70+ minority businesses, Black, Indigenous, and people of color businesses looking to find their way in the construction and design industries. And with that comes a lot of still remaining to be challenges in our community with this pandemic and beyond. And we really are focused on being prime positioned to be a trailblazer for those communities that are being affected during this crisis that we're all in. And we just feel like if we can work in partnership, building bridges and crossing barriers across the board, we can show success on an economic development level and a prosperity level that communities can really see themselves gainfully employed in the workforce and contractors building their capacity to perform bigger projects as they grow and scale their businesses. And I just can't say enough about DJC's commitment to these conversations. And it's really about the outcomes that we're really focused on. And so thank you again for honoring us for this prestigious award. And we look forward to continuing to work and really rolling our sleeves up for the future to be more successful. So thank you.
Our next honoree is the large engineering and design firm HDR. HDR has always strived to provide opportunities to women and minorities, but has witnessed firsthand several issues COVID firms still face. In response, the firm partnered with the COVID certified Amerio Design to conduct a survey identifying the most common issues that COVID firms deal with. In response, the organizations hold regular Coffee and Connect forums where they help connect COVID firms with opportunities and provide expertise in the subject areas that the survey revealed. As much as the firms have shared its expertise, it's also used the opportunity to learn from the COVID firms it works with. Over time, it's helped the firm better serve its clients and their communities, allowing the firms to provide diverse perspectives on challenging projects. Congratulations, HDR.
Thanks, Nick. HDR is truly honored to be recognized with this DJC Building Diversity Award. We understand that this is just not our award, but we share it with all of our small business partners that we work with every day to deliver really great projects for our communities. So thank you to the COVID certified community. We really enjoy working with all of you, and we are looking forward to building even more relationships with more of you as we continue to diversify and strengthen our community together. Thanks again.
Our next honoree is Kenichi Onyeguchi, Executive Director of the Professional Business Development Group. Working as a commercial banker, Kenichi saw how the system often works against women and people of color. The mother of 2 children, Kenichi decided she wanted to dedicate herself to providing generational wealth to the people that looked just like her, and came on as the first full-time executive director of PBDG in January. While she hopes to continue the great work already underway, her main goal is to strengthen the education, training, and advocacy that removes barriers and creates opportunities for her members. She also hopes to instill just how powerful the building industry can be in providing solutions or creating obstacles to the racism in our community. Congrats, Kenichi.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you to the DJC for this award. We're so grateful. Thank you for the honor. PBDG members, this is for you. Thank you for trusting me every step of the way. Thank you for everything, for staying with us through thick and thin. To the PBDG board members, you are the best. I'm so grateful for the honor and the privilege to lead this organization. To the PBDG staff, you rock. To all the women of color in the construction industry, to all the people who have fought and have promoted the racial equality and the gender equality in our industry, this is for you. This is our time. Thank you for the honor and thank you for staying the course. I'm really grateful again for this award, and let's keep doing the good work.
AGC is proud to be a sponsor of the Building Diversity Awards. Since 1922, the Associated General Contractors, Oregon-Columbia chapter, has served as the voice of the commercial construction industry in the Pacific Northwest. The trade organization provides their members products and services designed to improve business and enhance the professionalism of the construction industry. With over 830 member companies, AGC is the only trade association representing the full range of commercial construction companies, from industrial to building, heavy highway to multifamily residential. The AGC has a deep history of providing construction safety education, advocating for advances in safety regulation, and identifying and promoting best practices across the industry. The AGC hosts its own Rose Safety Awards program through the Construction Safety Excellence Awards program that recognizes companies for management commitment to safety, active employee participation, safety training, worksite hazard identification, and control and safety program innovation.
Our next honoree is general contractor Pence. As a lifelong Portlander, Pence principal Paul Scholes believes that it is his and the company's obligation to represent and advocate for the entire community. Through various outreach, Pence realized that connecting co-bid firms to projects in a timely manner is a major obstacle. Multiple nominations remarked that Pence doesn't merely present its opportunities on its website, but staff actively calls, emails, and texts minority businesses when it's going out for work. Pence recently developed a scholarship at OSU specifically aimed at getting minorities into construction leadership roles. While Paul hopes the first candidate will eventually come to work at Pence, his goal is industry-wide diversity in leadership positions. Congratulations, Pence.
Thank you to the DJC on behalf of Pence Construction. We are so honored that our subcontractors and partners have recognized our efforts at diversity and inclusion in the construction industry, and I am deeply humbled to receive this award on behalf of Pence Construction. Thank you.
Our next honoree is O'Neill Walsh Community Builders. O'Neill Electric and Walsh Construction teamed up on a job more than 20 years ago and has since built one of the most long-standing and recognizable partnerships in the region. Since that time, the team has completed several major projects, including the Meyer Memorial Trust Headquarters, the Louisa Flowers, and the Asian Health and Services Center. While the projects vary in occupancy, one thing that ties them all together is the projects enhance the communities they serve. This includes providing services within the buildings that help our underserved communities, as well as making sure that workers on the job site are representatives of the communities the building serves. Congratulations, O'Neill Walsh Community Builders.
Thank you, DJC, for this wonderful honor to O'Neill Walsh Community Builders. We are proud of this partnership, and I'm thrilled that I get to work every day with Allie and Maurice on great community projects.
Thank you, Afton, for those kind words, and thank you, DJC. I want to thank all our subcontractors and minority and women subcontractors, the pre-apprenticeship programs and the apprenticeship programs for allowing us to have such a diverse workforce and have great utilization. I look forward to continuing the relationships together and look forward to many more opportunities to come in the future. Thanks again.
On behalf of Walsh Community Builders, thank you.
Our next honoree is local law firm Schwabe, Williamson, and Wyatt. Schwabe believes it prospers when the industries it serves prosper, no matter if there's a direct link to its billable hours or not. And to Schwabe, that prosperity needs to be available to everyone. Schwabe not only committed itself to increasing diversity in its own ranks, but helping the building industries as well. The law firm helps minority and women-owned firms navigate the co-bid and complicated public works process. Schwabe also uses its vast network of contractor contacts to connect co-bid firms with other companies to help build relationships. In addition to this work, Schwabe recently started an equity practice in the firm led by former City of Portland in-house counsel Molly Washington, aimed specifically at helping increase diversity and opportunities in the industries. The emergent practice is the first of its kind in the state of Oregon. Congratulations, Schwabe.
Good afternoon, and thank you to the DJC for this wonderful honor. One of the priorities for our real estate and construction industry group here at Schwabe, Williamson, and Wyatt is to support our clients and partners in building diversity within the industry. We've intentionally invested in these efforts, and while we're proud of the accomplishments we've achieved so far, we know there's still a lot of work to be done. We recognize that with this honor comes the great responsibility of continuing our diversity efforts, and we look forward to continuing to work with the DJC and with all of you. Thank you again for this honor.
Our next honoree is Nolan Leinhart, Principal and Director of Planning and Urban Development at CGF. Nolan is one of the leading forces behind the region's most anticipated project, the 32-acre redevelopment of the former post office site known as Broadway Corridor. A decorated urban planner with experience from major projects all around the country, Nolan knows the type of impact that projects of this magnitude can have on a region for good or bad. An expert at bringing all stakeholders together, Nolan got big news recently as the team cleared a major hurdle with the approval of the agreement with the Master Developer Continuum Partners and the important Community Benefits Agreement. The CBA will ensure ample opportunities for minority and women throughout the project. Congratulations, Nolan.
I'd like to thank the DJC for honoring me with this Building Diversity Award. It's such an honor to receive it, and it's really an honor to be included with the company of the other people receiving this award, many of whom I've gotten to work with and gotten to know, and for whom I have great respect. I'd like to thank VGF Architects that has provided me with the opportunity to work on so many amazing projects, and many of which are great projects right in our backyard. Doing great work in our backyard is part of what allows us to do great work all over the country and around the world. And so I'd also like to thank the clients that have made these opportunities possible. And they're doing great work here in Portland, contributing to our community. And without them, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you again to the DJC. I am truly honored.
Our next honoree is the Healthy Communities Coalition. As mentioned a moment ago, stakeholders involved in the Broadway Corridor project got big news recently when the Prosper Portland Board approved a landmark community benefits agreement that will provide opportunities for BIPOC and women on the project throughout its 20-year cycle. The good news is due in large part to the work of the Healthy Communities Coalition. Formed in 2015 by more than 20 organizations, the coalition aims to ensure development in Portland is built on the foundations of racial equity and delivers good jobs, quality, affordable housing, and opportunities for Black, Indigenous, people of color, and working class communities. As part of the CBA, larger subcontractors will be required to provide full family health care, and prevailing wage will be mandated on several aspects of the project. Moreover, the deal ensures that several millions of dollars will be earmarked for minority and women-owned businesses, and large swaths of developable land will be provided for affordable housing. The CBA is likely the first of its kind on a project of such magnitude in the United States. Congratulations, Healthy Communities Coalition.
Thank you for recognizing the Healthy Communities Coalition's work. We're a coalition of more than 20 labor, community, and environmental justice organizations. Since 2015, we've been a force for ensuring development in Portland is built on a foundation of racial equity and delivers good jobs, quality, affordable housing, and opportunities to Black, Indigenous, people of color, and working class communities.
With racial and economic justice at the center, our collective work has built power that win high wage and other job standards for construction workers.
Recently, our voice at the table brought about a landmark community benefits agreement for the Broadway corridor, Portland's newest neighborhood.
We've made sure that there's meaningful investment in creating a pipeline of opportunity for women, people of color, and working families to enter into the trades.
Todos los janitors y trabajadores de seguridad merecemos un salario justo, seguro médico, si tenemos una emergencia, tiempo pagado. El corredor de Broadway es un desarrollo económico para la ciudad de Portland, para no dejar a ningún janitor atrás. ¡Sí se puede!
We've worked to include disability justice, environmental sustainability, transit access, and equitable small business opportunities.
Together, we're lifting as we climb for all communities. In the Broadway corridor, we've ensured that Black, Japanese, and Chinese American and Indigenous communities forcibly displaced from the area throughout history will have better futures.
On behalf of the Healthy Communities Coalition, thank you, DJC.
Thank you, DJC. Thank you.
Our next honoree is the I-5 Rose Quarters Improvements Project team, including a joint venture between Oregon-based Hamilton Construction, Arizona-based Sunt Construction, and an association with the COBID-certified Portland contractor, Raymore Construction. While the anticipated $795 million transportation project is far from a done deal, after losing support from some of the African-American community it will affect, it was announced in July that Raymore Construction would be involved from the outset. ODOT hopes the involvement at such an early stage will provide restorative justice for communities harmed by previous government actions. Raymore has produced outstanding work over the past 2 decades, as it's won or been a part of several of the largest contracts by a minority firm ever in the state of Oregon. The firm has built a reputation for populating job sites with significantly more people of color than we've seen before, which will be important as ODOT is calling for participation goals over 18% and workforce goals over 25% of minority male workers and 14% female workers. Congratulations to the I-5 Rose Quarters Improvements Project team.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Moreland, and I'm the president of Raymore Construction. On behalf of the entire Hamilton Sunt JV in association with Raymore Construction, we would like to thank the Daily Journal of Commerce for this highly recognized award.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Williams, chair of Hamilton Construction. Our firms have a long history of successful diversity programs and meeting or exceeding the owner's diversity goals here in the Pacific Northwest. Our commitment to diversity begins at the executive level and extends through one-on-one relationships at every level of our project delivery team.
Good afternoon, and I'm Ken Kabacki, Vice President with Sunt Construction. Diversity isn't just a contractual requirement for our firms, it's part of our culture and how we do business. We are honored for the nomination and look forward to working together with the local diversity workforce, community, and our partners on future projects in the Pacific Northwest.
Again, on behalf of our entire team, we'd like to thank the Daily Journal of Commerce for this prestigious award.
Skanska is proud to be a sponsor of the Building Diversity Awards. Skanska develops and builds for a sustainable future with the ultimate goal of improving our society and people's lives. Thanks to this dedication, Skanska is involved in some of the most interesting projects of our time around the globe. From hospitals to stadiums, airports to corporate headquarters, and power plants to tunnels and bridges, the important buildings and infrastructure they create help transport, entertain, and energize communities. Skanska has had its hand in many major projects around the region, including working as part of a joint venture on the redevelopment and expansion of the Portland International Airport. Skanska is committed to its Be Better Together value system, which prioritizes creating a workforce with people of varied genders, ethnicities, ages, and backgrounds, and an inclusive environment that enables them to deliver the best solution to their customers. Skanska is not only committed to increasing diversity in its ranks, but helping COVID-certified businesses grow alongside the firm.
Our next honoree is Orlando Simpson, CEO and owner of City of Roses Disposal and Recycling Services. As the second-generation owner of Oregon's first Black-owned integrated solid waste and recycling company, Orlando has taken the business to new heights. In college, Orlando found a passion for sustainability and has worked to be a leader in the movement, building the first LEED nucleus recycling facility in Portland in 2011. In addition to growing his family business, Orlando has been a tireless advocate for the local minority community through his longstanding involvement in the NAMAC Oregon, where he serves as the vice president and treasurer. Orlando also penned an open letter with several others to the Portland Business Alliance, where he serves as a board member with a call to action and proposed agenda for the local business community to prioritize economic justice. Congratulations, Orlando.
Hi, I just wanted to thank the DJC and the selection committee for acknowledging me with this award. It's humbling to be recognized for this type of work. It's a lifelong journey. It's something that's been instilled into me as it pertains to diversity and equity and inclusion within my community, the community I'm from, the community I care about, and we're just getting started. As my business continues to grow, as our region becomes more diverse, as our public policies become more innovative and aim towards serving all community stakeholders and those that actually uplift and support government structures, I am adamant about seeing the changes that are going to be necessary for the 21st century so that we can actually create this place which will be a model for sustainability, not only for our country, but for the rest of the world. So we're in this together. Like I said, we're just starting, and it's a marathon, it's not a race. And hopefully we can actually do something collectively as a community that our future generations will be proud of. So thank you.
Our next honoree is the new industry group Latino Built. Despite making up 36% of the construction industry, the Latino community has very little representation in industry leadership positions. Latino Built wants to change that. Founded in 2019, the Trade Association for Latino Contractors in Oregon has grown from just 8 businesses to 70 and has already established important relationships with organizations like Prosper Portland, AGC, and most of the municipalities around the county. Despite being relatively new, the organization's impact on the industry has been immediate. The group has hosted bilingual training for more than 200 Latino business owners on topics such as leadership development and employee safety. Latino Built understands that true representation begins with providing real opportunity for marginalized communities, which is the premise that the Building Diversity Awards was built on. Congratulations, Latino Built.
A big thank you to the DJC for this honor and for recognizing and advocating the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in the local building industry. Latino Built's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion within the local industry is shown through our diligent work on improving construction opportunities for Latino-owned businesses in Oregon. Latino Built started with 7 original, passionate, and dedicated board members who believed in our mission of building a community to empower and support the voices of Latino-owned businesses in their efforts to overcome barriers, develop capacity, promote, and enrich lives. It's hard, but it's gratifying and rewarding work. And this DJC award tells us we're heading in the right direction. Thank you.
Our next honoree is Robert Camarillo, Executive Secretary of the Oregon State Building and Construction Trades Council. A former full-time structural ironworker, Robert was elected in 2018 as the new Executive Secretary of the organization, which represents the interests of 25,000 construction workers and 21 building trade unions. Robert got his start in the trades at a young age after becoming a father. One of the things he realized right away was that despite his technical skills and strong work ethic, as a first-generation American, Robert was missing something that the majority of his colleagues had: a familial history working in the industries. While this created barriers, it made Robert work harder and his rise that much more memorable. The experience has stuck with him as he's worked to make sure that unions are representatives of the communities they serve and are paid a fair wage to provide opportunities for the next generation. Congratulations, Robert.
I want to thank the DJC, all my peers, for nominating me to receive this amazing award. It means so much to me. Building diversity is something that I believe in strongly as a man of color, as a building trades member of color. I know what it's like for people of color in the industry, and I am so honored that they have recognized the work that we are doing as an industry, as a building trades council, and really show it's a reflection of our commitment to inclusion and diversity in the industry. And we're going to continue to remain committed, and with your help and all our affiliates, we're going to continue to create opportunities for women and people of color in the industry. And that is why I want to thank you all so very much for nominating me to receive this award tonight. Thank you.
Our final honoree today is the Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon. While some firms and individuals win Building Diversity Awards for specific actions and initiatives, the Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon was selected for their continued long-standing commitment to providing opportunities for our most neglected communities in North and Northeast Portland. Since 2005, the organization has placed $11 million in small loans to small businesses. Moreover, its technical assistance program supports nearly 500 entrepreneurs each year by providing guidance through a system that has oftentimes actively worked against them. The program is working. MISO recently conducted a survey of 150 businesses it has supported and found that not a single one is closed amidst the global pandemic. Knowing the pandemic is far from over, the organization has responded and will have placed almost $9 million in matching savings in partnership with the Tri-County area to award nearly 2,000 grants in direct response to COVID-19. Congratulations, Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you, DJC, for this award. It was quite a surprise to receive the award. Thank you for the nomination. Before I finish, I wanted to just share an article that one of the clients wrote. As far as he's concerned, Brian Parman, there's something magic going on at MISO, and recommends anyone who is thinking about starting a business to knock on their door. He says they're releasing an enormous amount of human creativity and potential. If you teach people how to really create wealth from thin air, that's a tremendous amount of power. And that's what MISO is doing. Thank you again.
That concludes the presentation of the Building Diversity Awards. I want to again thank you all for joining us, as well as all of our sponsors and everyone we got a chance to honor today. Before we go, I have just a few quick announcements. First, we will be hosting a few of our awards events virtually over the next coming months. Starting out, nominations recently closed for Women in Vision. We will be announcing the honorees for the program in the coming days. We will be honoring the winners at a virtual event much like this today on October 21st. Stay tuned for more details in emails to follow. Next, we're currently accepting nominations for our Phenoms and Icons event. If you know a rising star in the industry under the age of 40 or an industry icon over the age of 60, you can nominate them for free by visiting djcoregon.com/phenoms-icons. Nominations are due by September 23rd, and we will honor the winners on December 9th. Finally, we decided to move top projects back to November 5th. We've compiled all of the scores and are very excited to announce the winners. Please stay tuned for more details on the event and how to find out what project will be our 2020 Project of the Year. That concludes our event this afternoon. We will have recordings of this event available to watch on our website in the coming days, and we will be running a very special issue of tomorrow's paper profiling all of the honorees and why they were selected. Thank you again for spending the afternoon with us, and please get out there and support minority and women-owned businesses in our communities and promote their voices. Thank you, and have a great rest of your week.